Good evening, Belize, and welcome to XTV's news broadcast for Tuesday, May 27, 2025. Making the headlines tonight, PM says GOB unable to offer larger salary increase to public sector workers. New Campo wants 6 to 12-month SOEs. And how will GOB address projected tourism slowdown? We take our first break and return with the news in detail.
Make
Members of the Belize National Teachers Union were still voting today on whether or not they accept a counter proposal from government to their request of an 8.5% salary increase. Our early reports are that the majority sentiment of the teachers is that they are unprepared to accept the proposal of a 3% salary increase starting October this year, and then an additional increment at the start of fiscal year 2026 to 2027. They had voted to put in place 3 phases leading to full-blown strike action if the government did not grant their demands. Today we asked Prime Minister John Briceño if they can afford a strike from the teachers at this time.
Well, I've not gotten any official response from the unions, both BNTU and the PSU. We have made the best offer that we can afford. As I said, that depending on who you speak with, this increase is going to increase. This is going to cost the taxpayers anywhere between $90 and $103 million. This will now take the salaries, the total salaries and pension benefits, to approximately $800 million. And there's only so much that we can afford. I've always supported the unions. I've always supported their right to speak out, to demonstrate, and if they need to strike, then they can strike. That is their right. And if the teachers want to feel that they want to strike, they can do so. I don't want them to strike. I think we have done our best efforts. We've been dealing with them in good faith, and we're doing the best we can. For years, the BNTU have been crying out that some of their members were not getting their full pension benefits because on the tertiary, on the high schools and sixth form, because the churches did not have the monies to pay the 30% of their pensions. It is our government that took it upon ourselves to be able to do that to the cost of another $10 million. I mean, we have been doing quite a lot for the teachers, and we hope that better heads prevail. I hope that they would think about the children and the families. Today we have lots of parents that are both parents are working, a lot of working families, both of them are working, and so whenever they would not show up to school, then they put these families in trouble because they don't know what is it that they're going to do with their children. So I hope better heads prevail, and we're always willing to talk and to continue to listen to their concerns. But we have done our best efforts to be able to work with them.
It appears that the raise in the CEO's salaries is what prompted them or pushed them to this action more quickly. Do you think then that it was ill-advised to raise the CEO's salaries?
Absolutely not. I do not think that is so. They were looking for an excuse. They were going to do what they're going to do. I mean, if you notice, there is a branch, almost every month they're out there demonstrating, almost every month, yes. And then they did it before the elections. They came here during a house meeting. That's just an excuse. They were going to do what they wish. I mean, there's obviously there's some hotheads within the unions, and they become the loudest voices within the union. But again, we have been working in good faith with the BNTU, and we wish that we can continue to work in good faith.
But will the government eventually buckle under the pressure of an extended strike? And if that will be the outcome, why not avoid it in the first place?
I hope that we don't go down that road. But I can tell you, and I'm speaking for myself, I'm not speaking for the cabinet, that I believe we've done our best efforts. We can't give what we don't have. We can't afford to pay more. I wish you could double their salaries, and I say this with all sincerity. I wish I could double it. My mother was a teacher. I remember as a little boy seeing she preparing lesson plans. I demonstrated BNTU as a child with my mother. I have a culture, I have a history with them growing up. My wife was a teacher, and she was also a member of the BNTU. So why would I not want to assist them? Why would I not want to help them, at least with memory of what my mother did all these years? I want to, but we cannot give what we don't have.
The new Commissioner of Police, Richard Rosado, has gone on the record to state that he has been lobbying, begging even, for anti-crime states of emergencies to be executed for 6 to 12 months at a time. The intention, according to Rosado, is to move in a different direction with specialized intervention that promotes an evidence-based approach that would include prevention, community engagement, and multi-agency support rather than an enforcement-driven approach. Currently, the Constitution speaks to 30-day SOEs with the potential of up to 12-month extensions with a National Assembly approval. The suggestion has been for the name of the measure to be changed to gang intervention period, but Rosado says the semantics do not matter. What is important is implementing a strategy to dismantle criminal networks and rehabilitate offenders to safeguard communities. At the House of Representatives on Monday, while introducing the 13th constitutional amendment to provide for specialized anti-crime SOEs to eliminate legal liability regarding constitutional violation challenges from SOEs, the Prime Minister said people are calling for a Bukele-style strategy. However, he affirmed that it is not who we are as a country.
More and more people are starting to feel some sense of helplessness and trying to push governments, or in our case, our government, to take even more draconian measures. Everybody looks at what President Bukele did in El Salvador, and in their mind, if we are unable to tackle this small group of people, it's a few hundred of them, they are starting to push and advocate that maybe the government should consider picking up all of these mostly young men and lock them up so that people can live in peace. But this is not who we are. This is not what we believe in. We believe in a democratic state. We believe in the rights of our citizens, even those that are not following the law, that they must always have access to the law. Because once you start going down that slippery road, it will be difficult to turn around. So it's important, and I'm once again appealing to everyone, not only to the opposition, but even to our social partners and to the public to understand what we are attempting to do is simply to be able to see how we could address this issue and be able to contain the tempers when they're starting with the killings, for them to cool off, and then for us to be able to do more interventions. As I mentioned earlier, is that we fully understand that this is not how you solve crime. It's a temporary measure. To solve crime, we need to look at the root causes, the challenges of our families are having, challenges of their children going to school and having access. The challenges that many young people, when they come out from school, they feel that they don't have a future, that there's not opportunities for them. We have to be able to continue to address that more and more.
The 13th constitutional amendment bill now goes to House Committee, where it will remain for 90 days, allowing for public input before it is returned for second reading. The PM on Monday announced that at the second reading, the government will present its plan to address crime, quote, including the bolstering of social intervention programs, end quote. Leader of the opposition, Honorable Tracy Panton, today told us she has yet to review the proposed amendment in detail, and their parliamentary caucus has not arrived at a position. However, she said she supports some aspects of the amendment.
Cursory review, there are some components I think we can readily agree to. For example, a gun court. This is not a novel idea. It happens in other parts of the region, particularly in Jamaica, and it helps to alleviate the backlog with gun-related offenses. Does two things. It moves the process along more quickly, and also people who may be innocent don't have to be waiting for prolonged periods of time to have a judgment or declare their name or whatever the situation is. I question, though, the need for government as a crime preventative measure to put in the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, a way to suppress the rights of citizens. Now we are all bothered by the rate of crime. We're all bothered, certainly that so many of our young people, or young men in particular, are engaged in gang violence, and we need a solution. Is the solution, though, to suppress the rights of citizens? What is the real crime prevention strategy that the government wishes to employ? It can't be a band-aid fix. We can't lock up people indefinitely if they are not proven to be guilty of a particular crime.
As we shared Monday, the PM says the amendment will provide retroactive lawfulness for all the SOEs introduced since 2018. Panton says they have reservations on that point. Tourism is the single greatest contributor to Belize's economy. Opposition leader Tracy Panton was a former functionary in the tourism sector, and today we asked if constituents in the Albert Division have indicated being impacted already by a slowdown in the tourism industry due to effects from the Trump trade wars and other policies of his administration.
There is a slowdown already, and it's going to be worse moving forward. Yes, indeed, people have prepaid and pre-booked, and they won't forego those reservations or travel arrangements. But going forward, if you don't know when you will work again, if you don't know what is really going to happen in terms of your country's own country's policies, it has to be disconcerting, and you have to protect the basic needs first, right? You have to be able to send your children to school. You need to be able to pay your mortgage. You need to be able to put food on the tables. It's real for us, and it's real for the people in the U.S. And so in many cases, my cousin, for example, worked for the federal government. Both she and her husband have been laid off. Three children in college. That's real. The impact of that is real. And so she has to have to arrest her travel plans because they just simply don't have the disposable income. And until they're re-employed, they have to live off of what they have. And so it's real. It concerns me that while, as you know, I've always been passionate about tourism's contribution to a national economy and what it can do for this country, we also can't put all our eggs in one basket. For these kinds of external shocks where we don't have any direct control, but it will impact lives and livelihoods here in Belize.
During his contribution to the budget debate today, Minister of Tourism, Honorable Anthony Mahler, acknowledged an expected slowdown in the sector and said they are already seeing signs of a reduction in travel. He reported, however, that they are already executing a strategy to address it.
Texas, California, New York, Washington, and Colorado are among our strongest source markets in the U.S. While the U.S. remains our key market, diversification continues to be a top priority. According to Tourism Economics, the key indicators for the performance of the industry this year are trending downwards as a result of trade tensions, global conflicts, inflation, immigration policies, airline disruptions, and security concerns. These factors are changing consumer behavior and softening demand across both leisure and business travel. Economic uncertainty and aggressive immigration enforcement in the U.S. have also created hesitation among diaspora travelers. However, to mitigate this, we are increasing our focus on the Canadian and European markets. special promotions and direct campaigns will continue to position Belize as an adventure escape. In Mexico and Latin America, we are already seeing results from increased marketing. In fact, Mexican arrivals grew by over 200%, increasing from just over 6,000 in 2023 to almost 14,000 visitors in 2024. To capitalize on new opportunities, we continue to work in Canada, Latin America, and Europe. Our goal is to convert the awareness that we have created into actual visitor arrivals. We also urge the private sector to review their pricing structures so that we can remain competitive as a destination.
In the wake of the hijacking of a Tropic Air flight by U.S. national Akiniela Taylor on March 17, the government revealed that the Belize Airport Authority, BAA, had started putting in place measures from January this year to enhance security at domestic airports. It was later revealed by 7 News that the BAA in late December 2024 had awarded 2 lucrative 10-year contracts for the provision of security at domestic airports. Only it turns out that the companies for Diamond Security and iSecurity are linked to officials in this administration, and that one company had gotten an advance to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that for 4 months both companies were being paid already without any works being provided. Furthermore, it appears that the officers from one of the companies who were sent to get airport training performed poorly, with 66% of them failing. Today, Prime Minister John Briceño told us they have to review what occurred.
Yeah, that's a matter that we have to we have to take a very a closer look, a hard look at it. But the irony is that it's almost an issue of damn if you do, damn if you don't. If we had not announced that we already have something in place when they had the unfortunate hijacking of the plane, probably News 7 would be hammering us to say, well, you know this is going to happen, you have done nothing. Now we do something, you find a fault.
So you have to do it correctly, though, PM.
So he will find fault in whatever we do, and that's okay. That makes him feel great. That's good for him. But wait. No, it's the way you spin things. It's the way you explain things. Now that he has brought to our attention some of these things, we will have to take a look. If they were paid for for a time when they did not perform any work, then that will have to be deducted from future payments. So if I don't know, I need to get into that. So if that was done, then we'll have to do that. But I think that back then the Belize Airport Authority was trying to get something done quickly because the pressures was upon them because of what has happened just in the recent past.
We also pressed the PM on the whiff of corruption that accompanies these deals, which involve apparent cronies receiving contracts in a selective tender process to provide critical security services for domestic airports.
As I said earlier, I think when you look back, you have 2020 vision, and I'm sure that there are many ways that you could find improvements in the whole system. And that's something that we have to take a look at and learn from.
But corruption?
I don't know how you deem that as corrupt.
You have this company getting an advance
because it was an issue of a limited tendering, which is done in many instances. On the issue of corruption, if these people are given an advance, then it is monies that, if it was so, then we will have to be able to deduct it from future payments to ensure that the BAA gets value for money.
But it doesn't appear that these are companies that are well established offering these services. It kind of seems that it's hurry come up and you're giving it to cronies in a sense.
That's your view.
And the public's interpretation as well, which you will be
fine.
judged for.
Okay.
You you accept that?
It's not a matter of accepting, but I'm not going to be in a back and forth with you over that issue. But as I said, could it have been done better? Quite likely now that you look back, yes. Was I involved in the process? No. Had I known, I would have probably given advice that we need to go a different route. But at the end of the day, security is expensive. You could ask the airport, the people at back. You could ask any company that have to provide specialized security. They will tell you that it is expensive.
After the break, PM admits deportees were treated more like criminals and said that should change. And government officials say Belizean Beach needs to be reclaimed. Stay tuned.
Hi there. Are you on your phone right now, scrolling?
Freetown Road, where you are better off alive than dead. Freetown Drugstore, telephone 223-2876.
Hi.
Reported from the U.S. arrived at the Philip Golson International Airport. They were shielded away from the media and escorted to the Queen Street Police Station for processing. Many chastised the government for treating them like criminals and also the media for sensationalizing the event. The Commissioner of Police, Dr. Anthony Richard Rosado, later explained that the process has been employed for years and that the deportees are merely interviewed so that officers know if they have contact with family and if they have the means and wherewithal to reintegrate into Belizean society. He too blamed the media for sensationalizing the deportation. Today, the Prime Minister of Belize, Honorable John Briceño, admitted that they should have been given a proper welcome versus being treated as though they all committed crimes in Belize.
No, we haven't gotten any notice. And I think it's not a matter that they're going to tell us, oh, see what we do, we're going to send more. No, I think that as they go picking up any of these deportees, they're going to send them back to Belize. And as we've always said, these are our citizens, and we should welcome them back. No, I think we need to do better when they arrive to Belize, because we had them go to the police as if they broke any laws here in Belize, and then the media was also treating them like, oh, here these deportees kind of in a negative light, and I think that's wrong. I think all of us should do better. We should welcome them. They're coming home. Yes, maybe we should welcome them at the airport, and if there's any of them that went away because they were trying to run away from the law, then we could deal with them. But I don't think we should deal with everybody like that.
For her part, opposition leader Tracy Panton questioned what is the plan of the government to reintegrate the Belizeans being returned.
Policies impact lives. What is government's policy? What is government's plan to deal with the integration of our citizens? They belong to us. This is their home. And many of them went to the United States looking for jobs, looking for opportunities. Many of them contributed to Belize's development by sending home repatriation, sending home money to support their families, and now they find themselves in this predicament and have to come home. And what's our plan? They should not be ridiculed. They should be embraced, and there should be a plan. Government should have a plan to see how we address the needs of our citizens who are being sent back home.
Questions started being asked when the popular Belizean beach along the George Price Highway was fenced off, preventing members of the public from enjoying it as they had done for decades. It was later revealed that 4 months before the end of the last UDP administration, the land, 2.5 acres, was sold for $1,000 to John Pollard, described as a sideman to former government minister Anthony Boots Martinez. Boots was recently caught on the property overseeing construction, and he claimed he was merely a contractor. The Central Building Authority has since issued a stop order on the grounds that no plan was submitted for construction. Today in the House of Representatives for the second day of the budget debate, Fort George area representative said the beach needs to be reclaimed.
The country knows that there is a clear difference between the parties. Just this past week, the headlines included a land scandal involving former UDP Minister Boots Martinez. Mr. Speaker, just like how this government took back Bolido for the Belizean people, it is my hope that we can take back Belizean Beach.
We asked the PM if moves are already being taken to reclaim the property.
I think that there's more and more clamoring that the Belizean Beach should remain as a public area so that Belizeans can continue to enjoy it. So it's something that we are taking a hard look at, and it's so ironic now that it was the Baroque government that spoke about Kitar. Remember when they said we're going to Kitar lands? We don't necessarily subscribe to that, but there are times when in interest of the public, we would have to take that step. So we were going to take a look at it.
Meanwhile, opposition leader Tracy Panton said she cannot be held accountable for something she was unaware about.
The government has the right to reacquire the land in the public interest, if that's what they think needs to happen. I don't know the details. It's now in his hands or the hands of people who are close to him. And if we need to reacquire it for the public interest, there are allocations in the budget to do that. I want to say this carefully. There is a tendency by this administration, knowing fully well where they made mistakes in the past, to say a previous administration made a mistake, something went wrong, decisions that were not popular took place, and so you have to hold a future set of leaders to account. I don't support that idea. If mistakes are made, they have to be rectified. You can't hold me to account for something that I was not responsible for, or that I never knew about. You will remember that secret agreement signed by the former Prime Minister Musa and Mr. Ashcroft. Nobody knew about it. Not even his cabinet knew about it. And so there is a way to rectify it if the government deems that it is important enough to do so.
As we have been reporting, the Transport Department branch in Spanish Lookout Cayo is being investigated after an audit showed that some $80,000 is unaccounted for. Today, Prime Minister Honorable John Briceño confirmed what former Transport Minister Honorable Rodwell Ferguson had posted on Facebook, that the cabinet was briefed on suspected missing funds from before the elections. The PM said an investigation was ordered, but the elections caused a delay.
I think what's important to point out that the then Minister Ferguson brought this to the attention in cabinet before the elections, and we agreed that we have to do an investigation and to do a full audit. But the elections came, so obviously that kind of was held back. Now we have a new minister with a new CEO, and what the CEO, who is a former commissioner of police and understands more on investigating these matters, have said that they're going to investigate not only Spanish Lookout but all of the offices, which is right, and we should investigate all the offices and let the chief file with it. And if there's anybody that did any wrongdoing, they're going to have to respond to the law to its fullest extent.
The indication is then that it would have been public officers at fault?
Well, they are the ones that are running the offices.
In other news, a village council election started on May 25 and will continue through to June 15. Today, Leader of the Opposition, Honorable Tracy Panton, shared that they have largely not organized to contest the elections.
As you know, we still don't have in place a clear, decisive leader of the party. Or I really don't think personally at the village council level we should be politicizing these elections. Villages are small, communities are small, and when we politicize these elections, it was never politicized before, as you know, but when we politicize it, instead of teaching people to work together, we cause a lot of divisions in these small villages. And so we don't anticipate that we can contest all the villages that are up this year. We just don't have the resources to do that. We have things to heal and to fix in the party. That has to be given a greater degree of urgency so these matters can be settled, so we can be fully ready to contest the municipal elections.
You're not giving it the greater importance at this time?
No, I'm not saying that it's not important, and I would not want to leave you with that impression. But we have to operate within the means that we have, and we have to be able to balance our priorities.
POP leader John Bresenio accused that it was the UDP who started the politicization of village council elections almost 2 decades ago.
Really, they have actually the nerve to say that? They were the ones that politicized village councils in 2008, and I've been crying out from way back then. Yes, that is when it started to become political. Oh, we the winner, and PUP can't win, and that kind of stuff. It was only 3 years ago, for the first time, I put a slate in Senate 7 because, you know what, man, it makes sense to be able to politicize village councils. I wish we can't do that. I am going to sit with the leader of the opposition and ask if she would join me to maybe we need to look at the village councils and see, take a number, maybe only villages that have more than 500 voters, for instance, to say, okay, there we have elections, and the others, you have a consultations with the ministry, the representative, and the villagers to try to come up with a village council, because it really pains me when it says small villages, people are fighting and they rail up, and that's contrary to what then former Prime Minister Musa was trying to do. When we put the village council act, we were trying to deepen democracy, trying to put in the hands of the villagers for them to decide who they want. And now we do that, then the politicians come in and start to say, oh, okay, we have to put free slate because people there with we and they're on the next side. So for the opposition to say what they said, they know what they did back then to us. We even had to make an amendment. Remember, at that time, you did not have to be on the voters list. So you could come from anywhere and say, oh, I live there. And so they were abusing that system, the UDP back then, for village councils. In many instances, we lost some villages where we know we had the majority of the people that lived there. But they were bringing people in, and well, they want to stop them. So we stopped that. Now we say you must be on the roll, on the register roll, to be able to vote. So I wish you could stop the politics in village councils. I don't have the numbers, but I think we're winning pretty much almost everything. I could tell you for Orange Rock Central, we have one village, and they have done a really good job. They won 3 years ago by 85% of the votes, and then this time the UDP did not. We're hearing that the UDP wanted to put a slate, but then I think they decided that the leader had been useless. We had a good team. Rossi and her team really worked for that village, and I had every confidence they were going to be elected. And there are many instances where they're not showing up. So maybe it's better. We don't have to be fighting.
After the break, PM to meet with PCC commissioners who were unhappy with final report. Stay with us.
Imagine getting rewards for your spending.
today.
Prime Minister Honorable John Briceño has received the final report of the People's Constitution Commission (PCC), which was submitted by PCC Chairman Anthony Chinona. The final report included a total of 167 recommendations. Today, the PM spoke more on the process and said he was expecting the number of recommendations to be high based on the number of comments gathered.
Well, remember the way the PCC was, their mandate was to go and to listen. And they went all over the country. They had countless meetings, and so obviously you're going to get a lot of. I think they had, over 4,600 plus recommendations. They just wrote down whatever they said, and then they tried to compress it into this 163. And within those 163, right? 67. And even within this 167, they have dissenting views. Some of them have as much as 14 dissenting views. So what we will do is not to look at everything that was presented to us and then try to see what can work, what can't work. Some of the things that were presented we know will not be able to work, will not be able to withstand the scrutiny. And so we have to see how best we can put this into something that's workable and to be able to meet the aspirations of the PCC. What is it that you wanted? We wanted to have to renew our constitution, a constitution that deepens democracy, a constitution that strengthens the rights of our citizens, and a constitution that can address the pressing needs of our people in these trying times.
The PM explained what will happen next and why the entire process is expected to take another year. He also revealed that he will meet with the 10 former commissioners who chose to distance themselves from the final report.
What will happen now is, remember, we're amending the legislation. Initially, I think we were too, we set the target too high. We were too ambitious that we felt that we could have done it in such a short time once you get the reports. The reports is very long and it will require tedious work, and we need to know the professionals to look at it. So I think what we'll do is then I'll go to cabinet and say, okay, we have received this, and then quite likely we'll have the Attorney General to get a constitutional specialist to probably take a look at it and for them, based on what has been given on that report, then to say, okay, these are some recommendations that we're making. We will discuss it in cabinet and then prepare a report, and that will go to the National Assembly for the ratification or voting on. After that, then it goes to a referendum. But we feel that we need to give it the proper attention. So I think we're giving ourselves as much as a year to be able to do this properly.
Will you meet with the signatories of that letter of complaint?
Yes, I'm going to meet with them. We've not set a date, but I will be meeting with them to hear them out, to hear what were their concerns and why is it that they felt it necessary to draw back or draw away from the PCC.
2 significant diaspora events have been canceled, presumably because many Belizeans living in the U.S. are fearful of deportation following the latest moves by the Trump administration. The canceled events are the Belize Day in Dallas and the Chicago Belize Day in the Park. Aria Lightfoot, the founder and director of the Belize Diaspora Summit, as well as the co-host of XTV's Naval String Connections, was a guest on XTV Creme WUB Morning Vibes show and said she spoke with the organizers of the Chicago event and shed some light on the decision.
So I did speak to at least one of the organizers in Chicago, and their concern were around the entertainers and the vendors. Apparently, some of the vendors had issues with attending the event. Those are the food vendors, and they did not want to have to go through the whole visa, putting people's visas in jeopardy. Performers. That's what I was told.
Meaning performers and vendors coming from Belize
to the event, or performers?
I think local vendors in Chicago and performers coming from Belize to the event, which to me, I mean, they have their own reasons and purposes, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it makes, that's what I was told.
So, all right. So it's, are you of the view that this is a significant thing? That this really is news. This is a huge annual event, and there's also another event that potentially, I think that's in Houston. It's in Houston.
I think that one is in Dallas. So there is another Belizean organization in Houston. There's one in Dallas. There's Vegas, New York, and there is California. The two that canceled were Dallas and Chicago. It's horrible because the objective is to create fear, hoping that people would use that to, as the embassy put out, to self-deport for $1,000. It's horrible. It's the worst form of creating fear within minority communities, and I understand the concern.
So,
Lightfoot said she understands why the decision was made, but added that she hoped they would have used the event as an opportunity to educate Belizean Americans on their rights. The Belize Agricultural Health Authority, BAHA, and the Ministry of Agriculture have issued an advisory on the increase in cases of paralytic rabies in horses and cattle. Rabies can be transmitted to humans. Farmers are warned to look for signs of rabies in their animals, such as nervousness, aggression, excessive drooling, or foaming at the mouth, among other symptoms. Today, Minister of Agriculture, Honorable Hossemai, shed more light on the issue and explained what is being done to keep the spread low.
Every year we have a few cases in the Cayo district, in Orange Rock, in Toledo. I'm not sure Toledo, but we have had cases every year. But it's controlled, not huge or large amounts of cases, right? So it's always controlled. We have to know where rabies comes from. Rabies is a virus, rhabdiviridae, and it's transmitted by bats, vampire bats, sucking blood bats. And so whenever you have the population of vampire bats going up, then you have tend to have rabies because they tend to go and suck off the blood of the mammals. In this case, it was cattle, horses, and if that animal has rabies, then it passes on rabies to the animal, and that's what we call paralytic rabies. So what we normally do is control the vector, which is the vampire bat. Now, to control vampire bat, we usually use nets. These nets are not easily gotten. Okay, but Orissa had received some nets recently, because again, bats, when they attack an animal, they leave a wound, and that was causing swarms in Toledo. And so we had to get a number of nets, and we trained the farmers so that they can do bat trapping and reduce the population of vampire bats. When you do that, then you control rabies. But we must vaccinate. Farmers know that you need to vaccinate the animals, the livestock, for rabies.
Today at the Help Age Belize City headquarters, several types of arts and crafts creations were on display. The pieces were crafted by some 100 members. Chairperson of the Belize City branch of Help Age, Marilyn Ordonez, explained how engaging in such activities helps the members.
Okay, so we have a little exhibition of what our members, and our members are all senior ladies, and we have a few males. They come here and they do arts and crafts. And so this display is from the arts and crafts sessions that we have on Tuesdays. Well, it keeps their brains a function, and it helps them to age without just sitting there and, be stationary, not doing anything. They're thinking, their hands are moving, so their motor skills are still active, And so the focus is to keep them active and to get them engaged in something that is enjoyable as well as beneficial for them. So if you look around, we have the vase, the bottles, they're bottles, and we use those for our tea parties to decorate the tables. The little flowers they made from the pipe cleaners. A lot of them are pipe cleaners. The foamies, we use the foamies for the little Easter bunnies. And then we have some little candle holders were made from spoons. So it's using little things within the, the community that we use to create these activities. We have some napkin holders, and those are made from the CDs that are no longer in use, so we can make those. We make Christmas tree decorations. We have the little pen, the pen that we decorate. Children love them.
In crime news, police have detained 55-year-old Rafael Cal for questioning after his brother, 50-year-old Romano Cal's body was discovered Sunday night in Medina Bank, Toledo. Romano Cal was the alcalde of that village. According to reports, the two had an argument roughly an hour before Romano's body was found. Rafael had not been seen since the argument and was being sought by police. He was captured by police today in Tambran, Toledo, which is near Medina Bank on the Thomas Vincent Ramos Highway. And the Corozal Serra Suns played their first game at home in the Belize Premier Basketball League on May 17, but unfortunately lost the game 74-47 to the San Pedro Tiger Sharks. The Suns' next game will be this Saturday, May 31 at 8 p.m. at home inside the Andres Campos Civic Center. Team owner and general manager Lupito Acosta said that additional players will be available for that game. He thanked the fans who showed support as well as the sponsors, including My Lights, who paid the $15,000 team registration, and Gulab Sharma from Canal Enterprises, who also sponsored $15,000.
The fan support has been tremendous here in Corozal. We had a majority of young and old people coming out to see the games. It was a revival of the semi-pro atmosphere in Corozal, so we had a great support for our first game. The players, seeing how they performed the first game, are eager to do well and improve on the mistakes that they made during that first game. It was a lot of jitters, some of the new players. The older veterans, they knew what it takes to upgrade, improve on what they did that night. So we were missing one or two players that would have been intricate in the whole team thing. So they're looking forward to this second game coming up this Saturday against the Belize City Thunderbolt. We're looking for improvement in our playing, passing, shooting. Our point guard will be in the country this week, and we're reading up on our forwards. So we're looking for a better outcome on the rebounding side of things. So far, we'd like to thank Mr. Gulab from Canal Enterprises. He has been one of our major sponsors. He has been intricate in assisting us so far here in Corozal. We have My Light, who has assisted us with registration. We have Digi is on board also. Habibi Sense, the Raul Parish Brokerage, the Town Council of Corozal, the Sports Council from Corozal, Natural Mystic Productions, and other people who are in line to assist us as we go along in this season now. We'll be calling their names as we go by in other interviews.
And with that, we have come to the end of our newscast. A repeat can be viewed on this station later tonight at 9 and again tomorrow at midday. Join us again tomorrow for another news broadcast. I am Drea Espinosa. Have a safe and enjoyable evening.